Warning: contains adult content including harsh language, violence, and sexual themes, and may not be suitable for people under age 17.
She was staring at Kodo with the same amount of anguish as she had when Saya died, but this time there was anger mixed in. Mina, Kodo started, horrified. It was over, and he knew it, but he wanted to fight it, even though he knew he'd lose the battle. You, she hissed, her glare murderous. She stood, backing away from him. Kodo stood as well, holding his hands out but keeping his distance. Mina, please. You! She screamed, tears falling down her face. It was you the whole time! You murdered all of those people? She clutched her head in hysterics. You killed my best friend! You killed her, Kodo! Mina, he exclaimed. I didn't know who she was. I really regret it. Don't bullshit me, she shouted. Do you feel regret for anyone else? Huh? What about all the children you've slaughtered? And how long were you planning on killing me? I was never gonna kill you, Kodo shouted back, his eyes welling up with tears as well. At first, I did try to kill you, okay? I tried nearly every day, but I couldn't, Mina. I couldn't kill you because, for some reason, I cared for you like I've never cared for another human being. I love you. You were going to kill me? She shrieked, glaring at him. I couldn't. Doesn't that mean anything to you? No! She sobbed, staring at him with the utmost hatred. I let you... I had sex with you. I cared for you. I cooked for you. I loved you. Kodo's eyes were wide and his heart was breaking. You can still love me, he gasped, and he made to take a step forward, but Mina flinched. Don't come near me, you sick maniac, she shouted. All this time, the sweet, sensitive Kodo I knew was a fucking madman. I trusted you. I believed everything you ever told me. You wouldn't have let me into your heart if you knew what I was, Kodo shouted back. I tried to stop Mina. I tried. For those 2 days, I stayed home trying to break this addiction. I did it after I killed Saya and her mother. After learning who Saya was and how hurt you were, I swore to never kill anyone again. I thought I could do it. But I had panic attacks and seizures, headaches that made me vomit, and I was seeing strange things in my head that didn't make sense. I couldn't help it, Mina. I'm not right. I'm sick. I need help. No one is going to help you, Kodo, Mina screamed. You're going to be executed. Kodo fell to his knees, bending to the floor and holding his head, sobbing. I didn't want this to happen, he screamed, the voice in his head laughing at him. I didn't want to hurt you. I promised I would keep you alive, and I wanted you to be happy with me. I want to stop killing people. I want to stop. Mina, please give me a chance. I loved you, said Mina, her voice trembling. I loved you. You made me happy. But it was all a lie. I loved the Kodo you pretended to be. No! Kodo yelled, looking up at her. I am that Kodo! The murderer isn't who I really am. It's like this monster that wells up inside of me, compelling me to do horrible things. He stared into her eyes, hoping she'd see his sincerity. Mina, please, please, get out, she said quietly. Kodo blinked, panting. What? He gasped. Get out! She shrieked, and she actually rushed forward and kicked him in the stomach. Get out of my house! I never want to see you again! I hope they catch you, Kodo! I hope they kill you! Mina! He was gasping for air between sobs, pain in his abdomen where she had kicked. Get out! She screamed again, and Kodo didn't need telling a 5th time. He staggered to his feet and ran from the apartment, pulling his hood over his head. It was pouring rain now, and he was soaked in seconds. Mina watched from her window as he sprinted out of sight. She collapsed to the floor, sobbing, her face in her hands. Haku watched her almost as if he knew she was sad. Mina suddenly lurched and she ran to the bathroom, throwing up into the toilet. She panted, wiping her mouth, lowering her eyes to the floor. Something caught her eye, and she got on her hands and knees to look behind the bathroom counter. She pulled on the thing sticking out of the crevice in the wall. There was Koto's bloody, rusted knife, hiding in her bathroom the entire time. She clutched it to her chest, beginning to sob again. A few weeks went by, and Mina didn't go to work. She told her boss that she had just experienced a tragedy and she needed time to herself. She spent her time locked up in her apartment, brooding and clutching Koto's filthy knife in her hands. She wanted to throw it away, but she was afraid that it would be found with his fingerprints. She had not told the police that she had housed a murderer in her house for several months. In her heart, she really didn't want him to be caught. On the other hand, she could never forgive him for all of the horrible things he had done. Sometimes Hima came over to comfort Mina, but Mina would never tell her the reason she was so depressed. When Hima asked where the guy she always talked about was, Mina burst into tears again, and Hima assumed he had left her. Mina still watched the news every day to see if they had caught Koto. There were still murders occurring, but Koto still didn't leave a trace to where he was, and was careful to not leave any witnesses. She was heartbroken that he was still doing this, remembering him saying, "I couldn't help it, Mina. I'm not right. I'm sick. I need help." When she remembered these words, she ended up crying again. It hadn't stopped raining since he left. The part of her that still loved him was worried that he was cold and wet, all alone somewhere, hiding. The other part, however, said he deserved it. After a month or two, Mina started gradually going to work again, but she was still never the same. She barely spoke, and when she did, it was only when she was addressed by coworkers or customers, or Hima when she visited. Mina turned on the news one day, as she always did after work, and saw another story about a murder Koto had committed. "Another family was found dead in their living room today," said a new male anchor. The previous woman had been killed a week ago. Still, Koto Sakura has left no evidence that he was even there, or clues to where he might be hiding. Mina sighed. It was the same thing every day. However, just like he did so many months ago, he carved a message on the wall of the living room. Mina blinked, a little more interested now. The message reads, "I'm sorry, my angel. I love you, and I want to stop. I need help. Please take me back." Mina's eyes filled with tears again, her fingers gently touching the screen. "This is obviously a message to someone he knew before we identified him," said the chief of police. "We urge this woman to come out and give us any information on Sakura. Many people are curious as to how a deranged murderer like him could ever feel love for someone," said the anchorman. "More news to come." Mina couldn't watch any more. She switched the television off, but continued to stare at it. Even after committing another gruesome murder, Koto had tried reaching out to her, pleading for her to take him back. He knew they would read the message on the news and knew Mina would see it. She didn't know how she was feeling about this. Over the course of the next week, there was a message to her in the homes of murdered families every single day. They never said her name, afraid that they would find her and question her. They said things like, "I want you back, please come back," and "I love you more than anything in existence. I want to stop killing people, but I don't know how." Another one said, "I'm sick, I need help, please. I want to stop for you, my love, but I'm not strong enough." Mina was especially affected by a message that said, "I did wrong. I told you. I've done terrible things. I lied to you, but I never lied about loving you. I couldn't kill you, even though the voice in my head was telling me to. I felt healthy around you. I felt normal. I'm struggling, and I pray that you'll forgive me. I don't want to live without you. My world is crumbling." Mina spent long hours in the night, wide awake, her thoughts focused only on Koto. She was terrified that the man she loved was a mass murderer, but she could tell he truly wanted to change his ways. On one hand, she never wanted to see him ever again. On the other hand, however, she longed to be in his arms again, his bare chest against hers, whispering words of passion and affection in her ear. The next day, after Mina came home from work, shaking the rain off of her umbrella at the doorway, she received 2 more messages from Koto. The first one, however, was sticking to her door, wrapped tightly in colorful cellophane. She gently ripped it off, perplexed. It was about as big as her palm, and freezing to the touch, probably from the violent winds outside. She went into her apartment, kicking off her wet shoes and sitting next to a sleeping Haku. She untied the ribbon that was wrapped around it, unraveling the cellophane. Mina gasped, staring at the beautiful object that fell out. She was so stunned she dropped it onto the carpet. It glittered in the light of the room, casting small rainbow shadows on the carpet. It was a large crystal that looked like it had been carved into the shape of a heart. It was a little sloppy, but it was a heart all the same. Mina picked it up, staring at the faceted surface, astonishment on her face. She looked back to the cellophane and saw that there was a small folded piece of paper. She took it, unfolding it, and read the letter. Dear Mina, I know you hate me. I wish things could have turned out differently. I will grant your wish to never see me again, but that won't stop me from loving you. I am able to send you messages, and now I will send you gifts as well, leaving them at your door unseen by anyone. I know you haven't told anyone about our time together, which makes me think that part of you wants me to stay alive. It's very cold right now, and I wish I had your warm embrace to come home to. I won't tell you where I am in case this note is found by someone else. I am not going to lie to you any longer. The truth about me is disgusting. When I was 17, I killed my parents and my sister with such brutality it would be cruel to share with you the details. I'm sure you understand the reasons why I killed them. I told you about my mother and father and what they did. They made me hate everyone, even my sister. But killing my sister was part hatred and part merciful. She was suffering, and she was corrupted. She would never have lived a happy life anyway. After that first kill, I knew that the police would get suspicious if I was missing and no body was found. I tore off bits of my clothing and threw it into the river, along with traces of my blood. They presumed me dead, decomposed in the bottom of the river. I felt the need to kill more. I felt that families didn't deserve to live, that humans do nothing but harm to others of their own kind. They disgusted me. I always heard a voice in my head. The voice sounded like mine, but what it said was not what I voluntarily thought. Despite the voices and the need to kill, I was perfectly sane. For 3 years I moved from town to town, and they never traced me. Only a few weeks of being in this town did I meet you. I was afraid you knew who I was immediately because I was covered in blood, but you were naive, and I thought I could use that to my advantage. I thought you were an easy target. But even after the first night or two, I began to think like I've never thought before. I began to act like I've never acted before. I felt like a normal man, having never committed a crime in his life. I could smile and laugh, which felt amazing. I felt like a horrible black covering had been cleaned from the surface of my heart. Sometimes I would stand over your bed, holding my knife above you, ready to kill you. However, I would lower it and walk right back out again. Remember the cut on my hand? I was trying to kill you in your sleep again, but, of course, I couldn't. But the knife slipped. It would have stabbed you in the face if I hadn't caught it, but I paid the price, catching it by the blade. When I told you that I would protect you from the murderer, I was telling you that I would never kill you, or even try again. I had dreams about you, kissing you, holding you, and then I killed Saya. As soon as I realized who she was, I vowed to stop killing for your sake.